once your floor plan is ready, it's time to start applying materials. Now, one thing that I would suggest is that you add a deck to the outside just by using the regular floor command. In my case, I started with probably the wood 10-inch ceramic tile or whatever there was available to me with 10-inch, and I simply modified it. So let me just show you what that looks like. We'll edit the structure. I've got softwood lumber here, 9 1/4 inches, and then I just added a 1/4 inch of oak flooring on top so that it would actually look like some kind of a wood plank. Now, I'm not really paying attention to, is it supposed to be 1/4 of an inch thick here? Is this supposed to be 9 1/4? I'm not worried about that. This is all for presentation. I just want it to look good in the plan view. So really any numbers that you enter here are going to be fine. In fact, I know that this is wrong. There's no such thing as a 1/4 inch application on the top of your deck. I'm just not worried about it. That's for construction documents. That's when we worry about it. Okay, and then I've still got my default generic 12-inch floor here. At this point, I actually do want to make a change to that. If I keep it at 12 inches and I apply a material, it won't be on the surface. The planks will actually be the entire object. So if I were to cut a section, I'd see wood planks inside of that 12-inch cavity. Might look kind of weird. So I'm going to edit the type here, edit the structure, and I'll just change this to be 11 1/2. And then the same thing that you saw on my deck, I want something on the outside of it, just at the top there. I'll make this 1/2 of an inch so that total I'm still 12 inches, 12-inch thickness for the whole floor. Okay, and then what will this material be? We'll apply another kind of a wood plank type floor. But before we do that, let's see what it looks like so far. Okay, if I come down here and I just turn on textures so that I can see everything in color with its materials, no surprise, this is just gray. And this has the wood planks that I assigned to it. Now, I'm not saying that I actually like how that looks yet. I can still go in and change that, but at least for right now, it looks like it's something made out of wood. I do want to point out there are several things in this floor plan that have no materials applied to them. The furniture, the countertops, table, appliances, bedroom furniture, everything in the bathroom. It's okay if it looks that way. We don't need to go through and apply materials to everything. Okay, let's go to materials, and what I would do if I were you is I would type in KS for keyboard shortcut, and I would type in material, click on it, and then come down here, type in MT and assign it so that you have a shortcut for the materials editor, because we're going to be going there a lot throughout this video and throughout the project. So I'll click OK. Mine's already set up. If you don't have the shortcut, this is what we're looking for: materials editor or materials browser. Okay, and if you look for wood floors, the default residential template doesn't really give you many options. And in fact, I don't even think you'll have this one. You'll have the oak flooring, which is the same one you see right here. Okay, and if we want more options, we could try opening this lower panel. Looks like there's a few down there. That's not bad. You can actually click here and put them inside your project, and then you can use them. But even this, it just doesn't seem like that many options, does it? So I'm going to see if there's a way to get even more, and I'm going to show you how to create new materials using what we call assets. So the first thing we'll do is come down here and say create new material. Okay, the next thing is let's close this lower panel so that I can see more of the materials that are in my project. Here's my new material that I just created. I'm going to right click on that and immediately rename it. I always use an underscore at the beginning of the name, and what that does is these are all sorted alphabetically. With an underscore, the materials that I've created, they'll just go right to the top of the list. And then I usually name them after myself. That's just another way of sorting, or after the project that I'm working on. So this is going to be my wood floor. I'll click enter. You can see that's now near the top of the list. Yours will probably go to the very top. Okay, it's just a gray material. Graphics, it's gray. Appearance, it's gray. And just to give you an idea of the difference between these two tabs, appearance is going to show you whatever it will look like when you go to textures down here like we just did. That's what it's going to be. That's why this is simply gray. Okay, graphics, this is what it's going to look like when you're in hidden line. So if I go back to hidden line, and then let's open up the material editor. Here's my wood floor. If there were any patterns that I wanted, then I can apply them here. So for example, the wood pattern that you see in my deck. Let's go to the oak flooring. And you can see that it's got a 3-inch parallel line applied to it, and that's why you can see that here. It's also a very light colored line, and that's been assigned here, and that's why it looks that way. It also does have a color here, and that color would appear anytime we go to consistent colors or shaded. Either of these two options would show just the color and no texture from an image. The only pattern that we get is the same thing that I showed you before, the 3-inch parallel lines. Okay, if we cut through it, if we were to make a section cut through the deck, then it would show this way inside the cut, because that's the cut pattern. This is just the foreground or surface pattern. Okay, so that's what the graphics tab does. And it's good to know about that. We don't really need to know about it because we're not going to be using it much for this project. Just to give you a better visual, better demonstration, if I make a change here, let's make it just a light tan. You can see I have control over simply colors and lines. That's all I get if I'm under consistent colors or shaded. Okay, let's go back to textures now and open that back up again. Textures don't have anything to do with the graphics tab. They have everything to do with the appearance tab. As does, if I were to click on that again, there's another option for rendering. Don't use the rendering. It uses too many resources in your computer. And textures is better in my opinion. So anyways, both rendering and textures are tied to this appearance tab. And most of it has to do with whatever image is assigned here. There are a few other settings that you can use, such as tint. This is not very effective. It works really good when you use ridiculous colors. You can make it something green, but if you want to tint it so that it's actually lighter or darker, it just doesn't really do a very good job. That might be a little bit lighter, but honestly, I can't really tell. So there are a few other settings that you might like. You know, you can change to a glossy varnish, or what is it going to be used for. But primarily the settings are based on just this image. And if you don't like the image, you can either go find a new one, or in this case, you might say, I like it okay, I just don't like how these are all such short planks, especially outside on a deck. That just doesn't look very good. So if we wanted to make an adjustment to that, we would simply click on the image here, and you can see that it's taking the image and it's applying it as though it were 2 3/4 feet along here and 2 feet 3/4 inches along the other side too. So if I wanted to stretch this, I could simply find where that setting takes place under the sample size, and I could put in some other number. Now, one caution here is that if I type in 5 feet, for example, then it's going to change both directions to 5 feet. And maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I just want it to be elongated in one axis, and in the other axis it's fine. So if that's the case, let's go back to like 2'6" here. Oops, 2'6". You can see that it's not working as I do 2'6". You actually, for some reason in this area of Revit, you have to put in the foot symbol, and it still didn't work. 2'6". Let's try that. There. Okay, so I've got my 2'6", and I'm gonna unlock the proportions so that in the width I can actually make this something like, I don't know, let's go 8 feet. 8 feet, and it's gonna stretch it like that. And let's hit apply and see if we like that any better. I actually do like that a little bit better. It's still probably just not what I'm going to go for in the end. But let's make one more adjustment. What happens if I were to just tint that in gray? Would I like it more? Honestly, probably not. Yeah, that's just going to darken it, so no thanks. Okay, so what I would do then is I would say, you know, is this really the floor that I want? And if it's not, then we're going to go back to materials. And we're going to go back to that wood floor that I created, and we're going to go find an asset. And there are lots of assets within Revit. You have to find them by clicking on this button right here. And this is kind of a nice little known secret, that there are more materials available to you than you thought. Okay, my asset browser is set so that I can see everything really big. Initially yours might be like this, really small. but I'm going to go to either the 64 or the 256 so I really see those materials. And here's an asset right here that, for example, you might not have known existed. Here's another one, some kind of a flooring that it actually is lighter, so I kind of like that. But let's just do a search for wood floor. Okay, and initially when this comes up, you've got just a few options. If I scroll here, let me shrink this down so that you can see how many options, just 4. Okay, if I go to the appearance library, which if you were to extend that out, you'd see this says appearance library. If I go to the appearance library, wow, look at all the floors that I have. Look at all the wood floors. That's kind of a cool one, this hand scraped maple. Let's just try that. And you can apply it to your project by either clicking on this button here or just double clicking somewhere over here. And watch what this did. It actually took that asset and it applied it to my Nate wood floor. So an asset is like the image and all the settings that it thinks you might need. It just packages them up and puts it now assigned to this material. Okay, when I'm done with this, I just close the asset browser. And I'm going to actually rename this. We're going to call this my deck. Wood deck. Okay, and I like the grayness of it. Hopefully that's going to come through when I go apply this. I'm going to click OK, and we'll just go into the structure again here. And we'll find at the top of our list my wooden deck. Let's see how we like it. It's not bad. It's an option. You know, it looks a little bit blurry and fuzzy, so I just don't love it as much as I thought I would. But at least you can see now, how can you get something in there, right? How can you apply an option? And there were so many others that I can go back and look through to see if I like something better. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to apply it this time directly to my generic floor. So let's go back to materials. I'm going to create a new one. We'll want to right click and underscore Nate wood floor this time. This time I actually will get a wood floor. And then once again, let's replace that asset. Search for wood floor. Go to the appearance library. And what do I want on the inside? Well, I'm looking for something that's nice and light. You know, maybe this beech wood. Just be careful. You don't want to get something that's supposed to be wood grains when you're looking for planks. So this, for example, that's just wood grains. This one, those are actual planks. Planks, wood grains. Okay, this is a good one, that beech wood. Maybe I'll try that. The chestnut, I like that one too. And so I don't know which one I like, but it's really easy to fix it if you decide that you don't like it. So here it is. I've applied it. This is hopefully what it will look like, because you can see that image is not kind of the light clear color that I'm looking for. But let's see how it does. I'm going to click OK. We'll go edit the type. And we're looking for Nate wood floor. OK again. And yeah, that's really not what I'm looking for, is it? Okay, there is also a rotation. So for one, I kind of want my floor to run left and right, and for two, it's just not the material I want. So all I got to do is go right back, and we can replace that asset one more time. One more time, I'm going to search for a wood floor, and I thought that the beech wood looked okay, so perhaps that's what I'm going to do this time. Make sure you always go to that appearance library. You can see that I forgot to do it. Beechwood toast brown, and ooh, here's some really light ones. Let's try that. Okay, I just clicked the button, and you can peek to just make sure that it actually worked. It looks like it did make a difference. So then you got to close this down, and I'll hit apply, and automatically it just updated. Great, and I like that one. Okay, I could, once again, I could go into the image and I could change its size if I wanted to. I can also change its rotation. So if I decide I would rather that it run the other direction, then I'll come down here to rotation, plug in 90 or whatever degree is needed, and hit apply, and you can see it's running the other direction. Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you with directions, because I had a student whose floor came in at a diagonal, even though that's not what they wanted, and there wasn't an angle that was apparent that you could use to turn this thing oriented with the house. So if you run into something like that, then go into your material, go into graphics, and give it that 3-inch pattern like I had shown in my deck outside. Now make sure, one more time, I'm just going to click on the foreground pattern, make sure you go to model, and then here's my 3-inch parallel, or no, I like 4-inch better. Let's go 4-inch parallel, click OK, and for whatever reason that actually oriented it the other way again. I don't know why, but I'm going to fix it. You can fix your orientation by going back to hidden line, and then you'll hit tab to select one of these lines and then rotate it. Okay, and if I rotate it, I'll type in 90. Okay, ironically, this is now running up and down, and when I go to textures, it should be running left and right. Yep, and now it's running left and right. So just a strange thing. I don't know why it's not following the same direction, but at least there's another way that you have to rotate material inside your project. Now, if I wanted to go back to hidden line at any point, I'm stuck with those lines in this material. So I may want to go back to this and just say, on second thought, no pattern. And let's see if that reorients it. It could. Nope, it didn't. Perfect. Okay, great. Now you know a couple things about materials. So that'll do it for this video. Keep in mind there are lots of floor materials that you can use. I mean, right here I've got some kind of a tile, and there's carpets. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you can subdivide your spaces so that I could have a different flooring material here than I do out in the hallway and out in the great room. And just so you know, it's not done by using room dividers or anything like that. And then the last thing I'll show you in the next video is we're going to take one of these material maps, one of the image maps from the appearance tab, and we're going to open that up in Photoshop and make some custom edits with it so that we can really get the colors that we want.